a little bit about this game as well too.
We're
We'll
good.
talk a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about this game too, and we'll obviously come back to it once we start talking about the coaches. But Ole Miss, they looked very, very good against Mississippi State. It was a tight game. Basically, to start it, Ole Miss had two good touchdown drives, and then they couldn't really do anything. And then they finally found their way, but they outlast their in-state rival Mississippi State 38-19. The guy that we've been talking about since before the season, before he even got a shot, Trinidad Chambliss, looked really, really good. 23 of 34, 359 yards, four touchdowns. Kid is a gamer. Kawan Lacey, 143 yards. It's just a different talent factor, I guess. I mean, Mississippi State started Mario Taylor. I believe he's a true freshman, one of their highest ranked recruits that they ever had. He looked decent to start the game, and then that Mississippi State defense kind of unleashed their pass defense, and he struggled, pretty much after the first half. 15 of 31, 178 yards and an interception. The only good thing, I guess, for Mississippi State, although they didn't get bowl eligible, is Mario Taylor went for 20 carries, 173 yards and two touchdowns. But when you get down by multiple scores, it's kind of hard to keep it on the ground.
Yeah, we need to have a conversation about two running backs in the nation. It's Kewan Lacey and freshman for North Texas, Caleb Hawkins. Both of these guys are in not just double-digit touchdowns. We're talking about 20 touchdowns apiece. These guys are scoring not just every game, multiple touchdowns a game. Kewan Lacey is out of there. He is going to follow Lane Kiffin to Ole Miss or to LSU if he doesn't get drafted anyway. So, I mean, he had just a big, big season. I feel like that, just went kind of under the radar, to be honest with you. It's funny, Mike, I was in a different state. I'm taking a look at some of these lines for some of these players to score. Kewan Lacey to score any time was minus 600. I've never seen anything like that in my life. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's wild. He's been a beast. It speaks to, I guess, how well he or how good he is, I guess, because at Missouri last year he barely saw the field, and then he comes here and he's rushing for over 1,000 yards, over 20 touchdowns or whatever it may be as well too. So shout out to Ole Miss. Again, we'll dive back into the little bit of drama. I say a little bit, but it's a lot of bit of what's going on down there in Ole Miss. One other team that I just kind of wanted to shout out is shout out to Iowa. They beat the shit out of Nebraska, 40-16 at Nebraska. That's a pretty big rivalry. Their defense really turned it up in the second half. I mean, Nebraska only scored 16 points. They scored all 16 in the first half. It was a close game, 24-16 at halftime. And then Iowa just basically shut the door down on them. Nebraska really couldn't do anything through the air. Latif,
Yeah.
TJ Latif, their quarterback for Nebraska, 9 of 24, 69 yards, just not going to get it done. Shout out to Emmett Johnson, though, 29 carries, 217 yards, and a touchdown. Just an all-time Iowa win where, they don't really dominate the total yards. They put up 79 more than them, but then you look at the score and they just beat the shit out of a team.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree there, man. I didn't get to catch all of that game, but that's a pretty solid win within itself. So
Yeah, you didn't really miss much with that. We'll move on to the Saturday games, and the first one we'll kick off with is obviously the game. The Ohio State Buckeyes go up to Ann Arbor, and shut the door on their hated rivals. They win that game 27-9. Knock, go ahead and kick us off with this one. Let's hear your thoughts.
I mean, did I just gain like a small respect for Michigan after a loss because they went right to it didn't they got killed, all right, but they didn't care. They went right to their logo as a team after a loss. I've never seen anything like this and stood on the logo. Okay? Like looking at these Ohio State players like, yeah, get off my field. I don't care if you want this is still my home, this, that, and the third. And it's just like Ryan Day had to go over to Michigan's head coach and be like, "Yo, you got to get the players off the field, whatever the case is." Like, this is our field. This is our field, buddy. You came in, you won. All right, cool, go. Um, so I don't know. I just thought that was funny, man. I knew Michigan had no chance to win just with a freshman quarterback. That Ohio State defense is too good.
I'd give Michigan a lot more credit if they came out and played the way that they defended their field because they didn't do a damn thing right. Only 163 yards. Bryce Underwood, again, true freshman, but my God, 8 of 18, 63 yards, one interception. This is a guy that they put together a huge, huge NIL deal. And this first year, I'm sorry to say it, I know he's young, he's a true freshman. It was very, very underwhelming to say the least. I think he's finishing with 9 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. Obviously, he could get to double digits in their bowl game, but just a just a very, very boring team. It looked like they had a little bit of hope. I talked to you about it, Knock, whenever Julian Sayin came out on that first drive and threw an interception right after. Michigan was able to move the ball pretty decent, kick a field goal to start the game off, and then they just couldn't do anything else essentially to get back into this game. And then shout out Julian Sayin. He really honed it in after that, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bo Jackson looking like the Bo Jackson, 117 yards out there. And then Cornell Tate had a great game, 82 yards and a touchdown. Jeremiah Smith didn't really do what Jeremiah Smith does, 40, but he also had a touchdown as well too. So the Buckeyes are rolling into a big game down there in Indianapolis against Indiana. So it'll be a nice 1 versus 2 matchup, and I'm really looking forward to that. But man, that defense is just so good. I really don't see how Indiana can move past it. But whenever you got a guy like Signetti, anything could happen. He's shown us that.
Yeah, man. I wanna feel the same way. I just when I put my logic together and I put my pen to paper and you look at who Ohio State has on their roster, and it's just like they're gonna repeat. And I just don't think Indiana has any chance to play with these guys as dominant as they've been all season. I just don't think that they've seen a team as remotely good as Ohio State. It just gets to a point,
Mhm.
like I have the ultimate respect for this program. They just win, they win, and no matter what the cost, they get the best. They are the best. They're just the best. Them in Alabama. So, I'm rooting for Indiana. I will be watching that game, but I just don't think Indiana has any kind of chance to play with them.
Yeah, it's gonna be super tough to do it, but you never know what could happen. I think it would have to be a shootout type of game for them to win, where their offense is just clicking on all cylinders. And then again, we revert back to how good Ohio State's defense is. Like it's hard to put up scores against them. I think before I forget who they were playing against, but there was a time in a period where they didn't give up a first half touchdown in like multiple games, I believe it was. So I digress. We'll move on. Another game, and they're sprinkled in with this, coaching carousel drama is LSU goes on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, and they lose a heartbreaker to OU 17-13. Really weird game. Mateer, although he threw for 318 yards and 2 touchdowns, he had 3 pretty bad picks. We've talked about it. Knock, you've mentioned it as well too. Just hasn't really looked the same since coming back from that hand injury that he had. Again, he lit the world on fire through the pass game, but that's because they also couldn't really run the ball. They had, as a team, 28 carries, 75 yards on the ground, so they really had to put the ball in the air to defeat this LSU team, and that happened with a very long touchdown pass. I think 58 yards to Isaiah Tagna or whatever. I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He was so fast on that play. But shout out to them. LSU really didn't have anything going. Oklahoma's defense is just so good. Another team kind of like Ohio State where they lean heavily on their defense. LSU was only able to put up 198 total yards of offense.
Yeah, I actually didn't even catch this game, Mike. So yeah, I'm relying on you to hold this one down. It just kind of looks a little bit weird. I'm befuddled because 17-13 was the final score. LSU's quarterback only had 96 yards passing, and it's not like LSU really eclipsed any more than 96 yards on the ground. I'm looking at not even
Mhm.
85 yards rushing.
The turnovers is what
Must have
helped
been
them. Mateer, yeah,
right.
Mateer threw. I think he threw two interceptions, excuse me, on their side of the field. So it set them up in good field position where they were able to go in, score, and then obviously kick a field goal, 2 field goals, excuse me. So yeah, it was a super weird game. I thought LSU was going to go in there and lay an egg. I thought Oklahoma was going to dominate, and although they basically did dominate them with total yards, I don't think that they played that much better than them given the turnovers.
No, no, neither do I. Again, I didn't really get to catch that game. There's probably a lot of plays that I missed, so bear with me on that one, guys, on my analysis for the Oklahoma LSU matchup.
No, you're good. It hurts whenever you can't get double digit first downs, which
Taking
LSU only
a
had 9 first downs.
Mike, I'm taking a look at the comments here. Dion, I'm unimpressed with the Georgia Tech performance. I guess you're speaking on behalf of Georgia. Mike and I had stated earlier, we kind of feel like Georgia might have been just trying to coast that game and just try to get in and get out. It was meaningless to them, no need to really get anybody hurt or put anybody in a situation, you know what I mean? So Georgia will be fine. I think they were really just trying to just make it through. Um, and bullshit their way. And like you said, it was pretty mediocre performance. I think that was kind of the
Yeah.
by design.
Yeah, Dion, to your point, it definitely was. I was unimpressed too. I was on the side where I think I took Georgia to cover by like, I forget what it was. I don't think they ended up covering. It was just the offense sucked. Stockton sucked. He just, if he comes out and he plays like that against Bama, it's going to be interesting. But we'll move to that game. Alabama versus Auburn, the Iron Bowl. Alabama barely scrapes past them 27-20. And this was a weird game for me as well, too. Bama really not get anything going on offense after basically the first half. They were up 17-0, gave up that lead to let Auburn come back, and they went for a risky I think it was fourth and goal or 4th and 3 inside like the 5 yard line, and they were able to get or inside the 10 yard line, excuse me, and were able to get a touchdown to make it 27-20. And then unfortunately, Auburn was driving to try to tie the game, and their wide receiver fumbled the game away essentially. But yeah, I mean, 280 total yards from Alabama to Auburn's 411. They were that quarterback. I think he's a senior, so I don't think he's coming back, but he looked decent. 259 yards, a touchdown, 1 pick. Ty Simpson, 3 touchdowns, but only 122 yards, 19 of 35. This was just another weird game where I thought Bama was going to go in and steamroll a lesser opponent. I get that it is a rivalry game, but just with how Bama's been playing compared to how Auburn's been playing, I guess I don't know. Auburn woke their players up a little bit more than what Bama did.
Yeah, man, it's the Iron Bowl. It doesn't really matter what your record is, how good or bad, that team may be on that specific day. Football is everything. It is Auburn, it is Alabama. There is two teams in the state of Alabama. It is War Eagle and Roll Tide. The state is split, man. And like I said, Auburn could be a 3-win team struggling on offense, but you throw Ashton Daniels out there and he throws for almost 400 yards versus Alabama, and Auburn has struggled mightily. And listen, something I stated earlier in the season, Auburn had the talent. Auburn really had the talent coming in. Their offensive line was absolutely atrocious through the first 8 or 9 games of the season. The last couple of weeks, they've looked much better through the quarterback change and through the coaching change. But yeah, man, Cam Coleman fumbled that away. He's a good ball player, though. He's a good ball player. It just didn't click
Yes.
for Auburn. It really didn't. So,
No.
you
Yeah.
know,
Shout out one more time. Shout out to Ashton Daniels. Like you said, he also added 100 yards on the ground as well, too. And going back to that Cam Coleman fumble, fellas, young kids, if you guys are watching this, stop holding the ball like a loaf of bread, high and tight. That's the only reason that he fumbled. It would have been, they were marching. So it sucks to see, but I digress from this game. We will move on. Vandy with a hell of a win against Tennessee, going against their in-state rival at Neyland Stadium at night, which was crazy as well too, because that environment is nuts. Vandy wins 45-24. It was a very, very close game in the first half, and then Tennessee just could not do anything on offense in that second half, only putting up 3 points. Shout out to Diego Pavia. Throwing the ball 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, but then added 165 and a touchdown on the ground. And I don't know if I completely agree with it, but he's probably going to be a finalist in this Heisman, countdown ceremony. I get he probably is one of the MVPs for the team. If they have someone else, what do they really do? So shout out to him and his moxie. He is a grown ass man. That's the only thing that I'll say. He should have some moxie going against some of these young kids. But Vandy, first 10-win season in program history. They're just doing a hell of a job. And I don't know if you saw Knock, actually. Let me pull this up real quick. So we talked about it a little bit yesterday when we were on the phone, but the good thing with Vandy, Clark Lee, his name was thrown out there to see, is he going to move on? Is he going to go somewhere else? They signed him to an extension. And then today, they flipped the number one quarterback in the nation, Jared Curtis, a 5-star from Georgia, to Vandy. So watch out, watch out. I don't know how it'll be. There's plenty of recruits that are big time recruits coming out of school, and then they lay an egg, but there's a chance that Vandy might not be going anywhere next year. And we're going to see if they could get into a college football playoff as well as one of the lower seeds.
Yeah, there's nothing that frustrates me more in the sport of football than when a team can't put up any points. You go from scoring 24 in one half to a measly 3 points in an entire in the second half, and you do that with no turnovers is impressive. It's not like you're turning the ball over. I mean, you just can't complete a drive. You can't cross midfield. You keep punting, stalling out. You can't run the ball. Respect to Diego Pavia, he absolutely should be in the Heisman voting. You know what I mean? I just don't really see too many people. I know Julian Saying's having a great year. I mean, I know I have to take a look at the list, but this guy, I mean, he have 165 yards on the ground as the quarterback. You know what I mean? He's just willing his team to victory week in and week out. I've said this multiple weeks. I don't think Vanderbilt is very good as a team. I think this kid is just so dominant right now. He's got hope. That team has hope. He's bringing them a lot of faith, and shout out to Vandy, man.
Yeah, shout out to the Commodores again, first 10-win season in program history, which is awesome to see. They used to be the doormat of the SEC, and that's kind of flipped. So moving on to another game, Dion, you're in here, my man. Shout out to Florida. Miami goes on the road and just dominates Pitt 38-7. The Panthers just did not wake up from this game. They had a lead of 7-3 and then gave up 35 unanswered points and were just not able to do anything. Cade Bell, as well as he's been as an offensive coordinator over the past, I'd say probably, 7-8 weeks, game plan was terrible. I just don't understand what they were doing there. Narduzzi did not wake the boys up for this game. And it sucks because we'll jump into it. If they win this game, they're in the ACC this upcoming weekend against Virginia. But just an all-around terrible performance. Florida's front four, I was telling people about it when they were asking me, how do you think Pitt's going to do? They had to win the battle of the line of scrimmage, and Miami's defense was just a whole hell of a lot better. That's the best part of their defense, is that front four, and they were ferocious. They got after Heinzel early and often. They shut down the run. Pitt was only able to rush for 30 total yards on 21 carries. Boozy Turner, who had over 200 yards against Georgia Tech, only had 37. So it was just an all-around terrible performance. Another thing that I got to say as well, too, if anybody didn't watch this game, it just absolutely undisciplined. I think they had, what was their penalties? 9 penalties for 88 yards. The majority of those were unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conducts. There was a drive, I think, in the second half where if they stopped Miami, I think they would have held them to a field goal. It would have been like a 10 or 13-point game. They stopped him on a third down. Pitt's guy mushes the Miami defender, first down, and then they get another stop on third down. And what does the defensive back do that I always complain about? The guy dropped the ball. He had nothing to do with it. He stands over top of him, taunts him, boop, another penalty, and they score a touchdown on that to basically close the door on the Panthers. So I digress from that.
Yeah, I was definitely rooting for Pitt, just Pennsylvania school, Miami coming up into the cold. I definitely thought Pitt had a shot to keep it close. I think the spread was 17.5. I want to talk about
No, 16, or it was 6. It was Miami minus 6.5.
6.5. Okay, excuse me. I apologize, guys. I wanted to get back to the comments here, Dion. You asked, do we believe Miami should be in the college football playoff? I do, man. They closed out the season after a tough loss to SMU. The way they should have. They beat Notre Dame to kick the season off. They dominated South Florida. They dominated through the first 5 or 6 weeks. Florida State gave them a little bit of trouble, but they won. and they lost to NC State. I think that was a bad one for them, if I'm not mistaken. They lost to NC State. Like I think Miami deserves to be in there, man. You know, as much as I'm not really a fan of Carson Beck, um, I don't think they've done anything not to get in there. You know, unless you're Ohio State, every team has suffered a loss to this point. So I
Yeah, and
I can deal with that.
oh, yeah, and Dion, I'm with you as well too. I do think they should be in, and I'm going to go to bat here for the ACC. If the SEC, if the ACC had a blank name across it and people just thought it was the SEC, it would be a whole different story. They'd be talking about how well this conference is top to bottom, how no lead is safe, no team is better than someone that's at the bottom. But since it's not the SEC and it's the ACC, it's, oh, well, they're having a down year. Oh, all these teams have 6 losses. There's only one that's 7-1. Oh, it's Virginia. Like this conference isn't that good. I think Miami should be in, and for them to be ranked below Notre Dame, I think is absolutely preposterous. And for the committee to come out and say the reasoning as to why is common opponents. Let's go back and look at the game that they played against each other. Miami beat them fair and square, head to head. I don't care if it was week one. I don't care how long ago it was. They showed that at that moment they were the better team. So I believe that Miami should be in here, but with the SEC biased and then wanting to get 6 to 8 teams in the playoff, it's highly unlikely, which sucks. But I do think Miami should be in. And again, I'll go to bat for the ACC conference. Like Knox said, I'm not a big Miami fan. I like to shit on them a little bit, but I think it's kind of crazy that they're probably not going to make it. And I think that they could make a little bit of a run and make some scares in the playoff.
Yeah, they have weapons. They have a running game. You know, they've got some,
Tony's a beast.
yeah.
True freshman of the year. That dude is a beast, bro. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, man. So, you know, it really comes down to Carson Beck, you know, because it's not that he's a bad quarterback. He just has moments where you ask yourself, how are you a senior? You know what I mean, dude? These are freshman mistakes, you know. So I think if he can get over that hump and just do the right thing and make the right throws, he missed the college football playoff for the most part last year with due to injury. That's how we got introduced to Gunnar Stockton. So, you know, we'll see what Miami can do. I think they get in there.
I hope so, but we'll see. Again, I'm not going to hold my breath. I think the ACC is only going to be a one bid league, and if Duke somehow beats Virginia this weekend, it's going to cause a whole lot of hectic situations. I don't know how that's going to be because they could still miss the playoff even though they won the conference championship. Because if you look at Duke's schedule, I think their record, they're 7-5. 6 of their wins are in SC or in ACC play. They have one win out of conference, and they're just not a good team. So ACC's criteria is stupid to me. I feel like Miami should be in the ACC championship game. But again, I don't make the rules, so I can't really do anything for them there. Last game that we'll talk about here, we've mentioned the ACC. We'll stay in the ACC. The Cal Bears pull up the upset against 21 ranked SMU. All SMU had to do was win this game, and they're in the ACC championship with Pitt's loss. And they come out and they lay an absolute egg in the first half, only scoring 7 points against a California Bears team that literally just lost to potentially one of the worst teams in the Power Four conference in Stanford. And they just come out and knock a guy that we've been talking about. He's been up and down all year, Sagapatelli, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. This dude was a gamer all night against the Mustangs.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that. Their running game, you know, was super efficient as well. They had well over 100 yards on the ground, and it was a high-scoring affair. Um, I was traveling throughout the weekend, so that was another game that I truly didn't get to watch. But I do. You put me on to Jaren Sagapatelli, man, and there's been a couple of games this year where I've looked and I'm like, man, this kid has it. There's been a couple of games this year. I think they played Duke earlier in the season, and they got slaughtered by Duke. You know, that game had you looking like, okay, man, he is a freshman still, so you got to give him some time. But you know what? Ultimately, like the kid has like this like good aura about him, this moxie. You know what I mean? He stands tall in the pocket. He can deliver a throw. He can make all the throws as well. Cal's a good
Mm-hmm.
place for him. Cal will allow him to do what there was a lot of games, multiple games this year where he's throwing over 30 plus passes. He got into 40 and 50 passes a couple of times attempted in a game too. It's a lot of workload for a freshman. You know what I mean? So if their running game didn't get going, I don't think that they would have beaten SMU. So shout out to the running back there. Off the top, I don't remember bro's name, so I apologize, bro.
No, you're all good, man. Yeah, it was a crazy game. But moving on from that, we won't really dive too much into D1 AA. We'll talk about that in our previews and D2 just because we're on a little bit of a time crunch here, and then we want to talk about what's been going on in the college football landscape. And the number one thing of that is the coaching carousel. So if you guys aren't familiar with what's going on or who's been replaced, we'll update you real quick. So obviously James Franklin fired at Penn State. He's at Virginia Tech now. And then a lot of moving parts over the weekend. Eric Morris from North Texas, he's going to Oklahoma State. Alex Goles going from USF to Auburn. Ryan Silverfield, he's going from Memphis to Arkansas, which, funny enough, Memphis beat Arkansas this year. So how it comes around full circle. One that had me scratching my head, Jim Mora leaving UConn to go to Colorado State. Marcus Shepard, he's Alabama's co-offensive coordinator. He's going to Oregon State. Vita Pritchard, he's actually going from the NFL. He's a Washington Commanders quarterback coach. He's going to be the head coach at Stanford. We got Pete Goldfield going from Ole Miss to their defense coordinator to the head coach. And that leads us into the biggest one of the weekend. Knock, we talked a little bit about this drama. Lane Kiffin going from Ole Miss to LSU, the rival, going from a school that he helped resurrect to right down the street, essentially. Not right down the street, but I think they're neighboring states, and a team that Ole Miss doesn't really like, LSU. Knock, I'll let you kick this one off. I know you had some gripes with some of the situations.
I just wanted the people to see my face and my eyes and, for a moment, like, look, bro, there's nothing wrong with taking a job. You want to better your life. You want to better your legacy. You want to better your career. I completely understand that. I just feel like the NCAA has to be a little bit more professional, and I think the fact that it's a college-based athletic association, that shit like this gets a little bit of slack. Bro, in the NFL, if somebody called up Sean Payton right now, if the Raiders called Sean Payton right now and fired Pete Carroll and said, "Hey, we want you to be our head coach next year," and the Broncos are in the midst of a playoff run, they're 9-2, 10-2. And Sean Payton says, "You know what? Fuck yeah. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Throw the bag at me and I'll do it." What are we talking about here? The scrutiny that would come with that decision behind Sean Payton. I mean, social media would be going crazy. And I feel like because they're not professionals, because they're not NFL head coaches, that they can't act in a professional manner, that the NCAA can't act in a professional manner. This is borderline tampering. I don't care what anybody says. Their seasons need to end before you can go and make these decisions. Now, Mike, you said to me last night, there's like a fiscal year with college football in terms of National Signing Day, things of that nature. It comes a lot sooner with the college football playoff being expanded. The season is a little bit longer. I get it, dude. I get it. You know what I mean? There's a couple of teams that still have an opportunity to make a push here. And I just don't understand. I mean, Lane Kiffin especially, dude. I don't want to say that's ho shit, but like, come on, man. Finish the year off. You have the chance to do something special for Ole Miss. You're doing it with a Division II quarterback. Nobody counted you guys to be here at this point. You did a 10-win, 11-win season. I think Lane Kiffin's a good coach. I like Lane Kiffin. No, he hasn't won anything significant in his life, but he's a good coach. And he's the villain. He's the bad guy. He is. He's got me talking like this. He's got the media talking like this. He's got us spinning in circles. I'm not mad at you for taking the job. I'm mad at you for taking the job now. And not just him. I'm mad at guys like John Sumrall for taking the job. John Sumrall, this is a guy who just challenged his Tulane team a couple of weeks ago. I love his attitude. I love his character. So for me, whether Tulane is allowing him to continue coaching for the remainder of the year or not, it's still a distraction. It's still a distraction for the kids, for the coaches, for the fans. And now you've got two things on your plate, not just you, the head coach for JMU, the head coach for North Texas. and I'm just spazzing right now, so I know their names. I just can't think of them off the top. But like, whether you're coaching or not, it's still a distraction. And good for these guys for moving on in their careers. That's awesome. These are life-changing decisions. I just believe, like, bro, you can wait. The NCAA, whoever it may be, can wait another 30 days. These schools reaching out to these coaches can wait until the season is over.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, we saw it last year with Bo Pabula in Penn State. They were going on a run. Was he the starting quarterback? No, but did he play in a lot of those games? Yes, because they had certain packages for him, and he had to transfer and enter the portal before they even played in the playoffs, just due to the academic calendar. And that's going to be the hardest thing with everybody saying that the NCAA needs a new calendar. They need to do it different. It's just tough because you're going to have it's literally you're going to have to change the universities around. You're going to have to change the semesters around. I'm with you though. It's weird and it sucks, but if a spring semester starts January, January 13th or whatever it may be, these kids have to be committed, signed, and enrolled to be able to be eligible for that upcoming season and to be on the team. I guess they can maybe transfer in the summer, but I'm not exactly sure how that all works. So I'm just more so talking from just an overall standpoint of everybody saying how the calendar's messed up. It's going to be hard to change that just due to the academic schedule and for players that have to be a part of that year or whatever it may be. So with Lane Kiffin, it's weird. It's really, really weird. I feel really different about this. Shout out to the Ole Miss. I think he's an Ole Miss beat writer, or he does like podcasts and stuff for them. I don't know if you saw the interaction after the game, but Lane Kiffin came up to him and basically said, like, you called me a hoe, like we could go figure this out right now. And at that point, I was like, okay, I like it, Lane, going at the dude. He didn't call Lane Kiffin a hoe. His standard message of what he said is you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. And that holds with Lane Kiffin going from a great marriage at Ole Miss and moving over to LSU. I understand all the money that goes into it, but if you're going to look me in the eyes and tell me that he can't win at Ole Miss just like he can win at LSU, you're wrong. You mentioned it, Knock. He had an 11-win season, a 10-win season, and now an 11-win season with a college football playoff on the line. They're going to get in regardless if he's coaching there or not. So one of the things that comes into play with this is essentially he wanted to try to continue to coach, but I think it was the athletic director, the president, Keith Carter, is not allowing him. And to that, I applaud Ole Miss on not allowing him to continue to coach. We talked about this a little bit. It would be like your wife around the holidays being like, you know what, honey, I just don't like it here anymore. I'm going to go move in with the neighbor across the street. But hey, when we have Thanksgiving dinner, can I come back over? We could be a family. No, see ya. This isn't like a Tulane coach moving upward to Florida where I could see them letting him coach. Will it be a distraction? Absolutely. But it's in the same conference. They're rivals. They do not like each other. Why would I allow you as an athletic director, as a president, allow you to stay to coach and continue to build more and more relationships? And not only that, whisper, hey, even if we lose, I'm out of here to LSU. You coming with me? Hey, OC, DC, you coming with me? We leaving here? Because then you just put Ole Miss in such a bad spot. So I applaud Ole Miss on not allowing him to coach. I applaud Ole Miss on already naming their defensive coordinator, the head coach. It seemed like a lot of those guys in the player meetings, from what I'm hearing, were ecstatic of that happening. So that's the only thing I could see with it. I'm a little disappointed in Lane for taking that LSU job, but again, I can understand why. The money is crazy. LSU is a school where you do not have to be essentially a Hall of Fame coach to win a national championship there. We saw that with Ed Ogeron. Is Ed Ogeron a good coach? Yeah, he's a good coach. Is he a great coach? I don't think he's a great coach. He would still be there if he was a great coach, So obviously they have the money, they have the facilities, they have the NIL, and they're going to give Lane resources. I do think he would have had that same buy-in if he turned this down and stayed at Ole Miss. Knock, I told you, I can see in 5 years, 6 years, whatever it may be, once Kalen DeBoer, if he gets run out of town or he moves on, that Alabama job opens. I could see Lane poking his head in there. Hey, you guys interested in having me? You guys interested? So LSU, understand what you signed up for. This is not the first time Lane Kiffin has done something like this. Lane is about Lane. He doesn't give a shit about anybody else you could sit there and eat up all the gimmicks of him at the press conference talking about, I came in and, I had to call up Coach Ogeron because I just, I felt like I wanted to talk like him. Bullshit. You don't give a shit. You love that the spotlight is on you. That's really all it comes down to. And with that, I will lay my head to rest. That situation is just so weird to me. Again, shout out to Ole Miss for not letting him coach. I wouldn't do the same if I was in that situation as well too. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole matter.
Yeah, the portal's not just for players. It's also for coaches as well, guys. So, um, yeah, I'm a Lane guy. That's the worst part. Like, I just like,
Yeah, I like Lane. I do like Lane. I,
like
I lost. I lost. I didn't really. I never really indulged in some of his stuff. But with I don't know. Bro, you're winning at a school that like it's their best season in so many odd years. Like you're bringing in top transfers after top transfers. Don't sit here and look at me in the face and tell me that they weren't giving him the money and they could not win there. So like I don't know. Yeah, it's the villain role, like you said. If he wanted to be a hero, he would have stayed at Ole Miss. Not to cut you off, Knock. I'm sorry because
no, no,
I do like Lane. I lost a little bit of respect for him
yeah,
just
oh, me
because
too.
LSU just has a sour taste in my mouth right now from Brian Kelly. I fucking hate Brian Kelly. So it's like that transpired over the LSU. But when Ed Rogeron was there, I liked LSU. I didn't mind him, but I don't know, man. He's not really going to be getting my full support, and I know he could give a shit less. He doesn't even know who I am.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, bro. I'm not on the LSU train. I'm not on board with anything dismantling the program, taking offensive coordinators and whoever else with you. Real quick, I want to stay on Ole Miss. I want to highlight Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator. This guy's been a defensive coordinator in the SEC for a decade now. He, like Lane Kiffin, has also coached alongside Nick Saban at Alabama. So, I that was this guy's goal. This guy actually came to Ole Miss, and he's locked in and he's ready to go based off of what I've seen and heard. This was his ultimate goal, was to become the head coach at one point in his life, whether it was for Ole Miss or whatever program it may be. But the time is now. He's got a team. He knows that defense inside and out. So I'm interested to see how the offense plays, and I'd like to see them in the playoff, man. I just like to see Ole Miss win now because of all of
Mm-hmm.
this. Like the irony behind it all. You know what I mean? So,
Oh,
I'm
I
rooting
think
for
this is
the
going to
Rebels.
light a fire.
Yeah.
I think this
Oh,
is going to light a fire under them. Not only for this playoff run, but I think it's going to light a fire under like the university as a whole, the donors, the alumni. Like I think they're going to be like, all right, you don't think we got the money here, Lane? All right, I'm going to show you that. And it
right.
looks like he has a lot of buy-in from the players. Will there be some players that probably follow Lane Kiffin? Absolutely. But to the ones that stay there and believe in the coach that they have now, I give you a tremendous shout out. I think that that's awesome to show your loyalty. So, yeah, anything else from this matter, Knock? There's one other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about as well too. We could still talk about more coaches,
Nah, go
but the
ahead.
other
Go
one, I
ahead.
don't know if you'll like. Penn State. Holy hell, are they botching this coaching carousel right now? It legitimately looks like that they fired Franklin on a whim just out of frustration and had zero plan. I don't
Mm.
care who you are. You could tell me that they have a search party, that they had everything in mind. They're still without a coach right now, which is crazy. I'm looking at their commitment rankings after all the decommitments that they've had. A lot of guys flip into Virginia Tech to follow James Franklin. They're sitting at 124th right now. They're behind Harvard in the recruiting class. So it's wild to see. They still have Matt Seg, who is a safety from Fort Cherry here in Pittsburgh. He's their highest rated recruit, but he's announcing his actual signing tomorrow, and it's between I think Penn State's still on there, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Notre Dame, and I think one other team, maybe Indiana. So I doubt he stays with Penn State. If he does, hey, shout out to you. That's loyalty, brother. But I really don't know what's going on with them. So I took a look at some of the stuff that I was reading right now. I hear a lot of people saying Brian DeBoer or DeBoer from the Giants. I understand he has ties to Penn State, I believe. Don't really know if that's a
Yeah.
good fit for him, but I am seeing that it looks like the BYU head coach, Kalani Sitake, is the front runner right now, which I talked to a Penn State fan this morning. He really didn't like what I said because I hold on to this forever. But how funny would it be for a guy like Kalani and his huge religious background? He's a Mormon to go to a university that is stained by one of the worst scandals in U.S. history and college athletics. How funny would that be? They're going to start calling it Happy Mormon Valley.
That's genius. I like that a lot. That's super funny. But don't get it tricked. I would love this guy to come to Penn State. All right. I would absolutely love this guy to come to Penn State. But you know who I really think that Penn State is gonna go out and try to get? It's Pat Fitzgerald. I think
He's at Michigan State. He signed with Michigan State. That just happened late yesterday. I forgot to add
shut
that to this list that
the
I sent
fuck
you.
up, dude. I
Yep,
saw
not to
nothing.
breaking news.
I got
Breaking news.
nothing.
Matt Fitzgerald at Michigan State. Yep.
You're talking about the former Northwestern head coach.
Former
Son
Northwestern head
of a
coach.
motherfucker. No, nothing. I got nothing. I see no news on it. I am so
Yeah.
sorry, guys. Well,
No, you're good.
we're
Again,
rooting for
it just
Sataki.
happened.
We're rooting
Yeah,
for
it just happened
Sataki.
not too long ago. I think it was yesterday.
Son of a bitch.
I had that come across my Twitter. Yep, Michigan State hires Pat Fitzgerald as coach shortly after firing Jonathan Smith. So add that to the list of coaches who are back in the game of play.
Bro, he's a good coach. I just don't think Michigan State gets him. I don't think they pull the recruit. I mean, a place like Penn State would be great. He's a good
You
coach
never know.
who can
You
still
never know.
pull the. Uh,
He was able to turn around Northwestern, get some 10-win seasons out of him. So I
uh,
don't know. I feel like he's a winner no matter where he goes. But yeah, you said that, and I completely forgot about it. Also, Kentucky still has a job opening with Byron Mark Stoops as well. So it'll be interesting to see who gets that job. Outside of that, out of Kalani, I really, I really don't know who else would be a great fit for them or who would leave where they're at now to do it. I mean, you heard um, a lot of people figuring that it would probably be someone of a big name, and right now all the big names are getting poached up. I really don't know who it would be.
yeah, I'm not sure either. I've just been so consumed by this SEC, and all these guys, Golish, Silverfield to Arkansas. You know what I mean? By the way, Alex Golish, I was joking around. He's just got like one of those faces. You take a look at him, it's like I don't really think this guy can lead my college football team. However, I will say this: he's somewhat of a quarterback guru. We're talking about guys he's worked with Brock Purdy, Joe Milton. He's Byron Brown this year, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So he definitely has a thing for working with quarterbacks. And, Auburn, they really need offensive line help more than anything else. It doesn't matter who you have a quarterback. But with that being said, I think that was a definitive reason as to why they brought him on board. So, and shout out to him for South Florida having the second best season I've ever seen in my life. So.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to him. I think he's winning over Auburn fans already. Not only does his whole family have orange hair, so it fits their color scheme of the colors that they wear, but also during a team meeting, this was a quote from him. He said, "I don't fucking golf, I don't fucking fish, and I don't have hobbies. I coach ball." So that's exactly what you want to hear from your coach. You could obviously see why. Arkansas fans were a little bit pissed off. Again, I told you about it. I saw that they offered him $7 million. Auburn ended up offering him 7.5, and Arkansas didn't counteroffer, so he signed with Auburn, excuse me. And then they get Ryan Silverfield from Memphis to Arkansas, which Arkansas fans are not happy about it, just from what I've seen on social media and from what I've seen on Twitter. So I don't know. It's interesting because Ryan Silverfield, although you might not like the hire Arkansas, he beat you guys. So
Yeah.
shut the hell up, I guess is all I'll say. You guys are the armpit of the SEC right now. Take what you could get.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure.
um,
Arkansas has a lot of other problems, not just their head coach. So,
yeah. How about you get the founders of Walmart and their family to start giving you some more NIL and some more money, and
yeah.
you'll have no more problems in there. But last one that I was a little bit shocked by too, Knock, was Jim Mara moving on from UConn after their impressive season this year, and also last year I believe they had one too, going from UConn to Colorado State. This one really feels like a lateral move or even a step down. Now, I've heard that Colorado State, I guess, has had a lot of donors over this past season and a lot of money coming into the program. don't really know. I thought he would be more of a fit for a higher state job if that came about. I don't know. I just think it's a weird one. That's really the only one that I have left to say on here.
Listen, man, I have watched Jim Mora Jr. my entire life, okay? It was 2004, 2005, I started watching the game and he was coaching Mike Vick and the Atlanta Falcons. He's all right. Yeah, he couple good years at UCLA. Like he's all right. Like the guy's not great. I truthfully don't care how much money you throw at him. You can't coach a quarterback like their quarterback, Joe Finano, 22 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns, no interceptions. You can't coach that. That's
Yeah,
rare. That's so rare. UConn, hats off to Jim Mora because that UConn program just 4 or 5 years ago was, I mean, they were so bad. There was nobody showing up to their games. I mean, I don't even think they were winning more than a single game a year for a couple of years stretch. So I respect that. And I respect him, but he's just not like a great coach to me. Nothing wows me about that move, and it's Colorado State, bro. So one,
yeah.
maybe two good seasons because the NIL. After that, they're just going to go back to the regular Colorado State, and he'll be elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Knock, do you have anything else? I know we wanted to spend some time on this coach carousel. It's pretty crazy, so just wanted to make sure we got some words in about that, and I think we did our justice on it.
Oh yeah, totally, totally, bro. I'm all good, man. I got to get strolling. I got work tonight. That's good. But
Thumbs
yeah,
down,
yeah,
thumbs down.
thumbs down for work tonight. So, but yeah, bro, we'll see. There's going to be some more stuff as far as coaching and transfer portal moves here within the next few days.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if anything solidifies with Penn State. Obviously, BYU is playing against Texas Tech in the rematch for the Big 12 championship, so I doubt we'll hear anything before that if it is going to be their head coach. But appreciate everybody who stopped in here to listen to us
Absolutely.
rant and just talk ball a little bit. We're going to be doing this more where we're doing some live streaming and stuff, and maybe we'll do it for a Thursday episode as well too, just previewing some of these college football conference games that have coming up and hopefully some more coaching news. So, again, make sure you subscribe to us here on our YouTube. Go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Sports with Skiz. Show some love, and we'll talk to you guys again next time.